That dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain about if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Marcus Aurelius wrote those words not in a philosophy classroom, not in a temple, but in a military tent on the frozen banks of the Danube River. The most powerful man in the world, the Roman Emperor, waking up in the cold, exhausted, surrounded by war, and still he dragged himself out of bed. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. That's the difference between those who master themselves and those who are mastered by their impulses. The gap between greatness and mediocrity isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's what you do in the first 60 seconds after you open your eyes. Every morning is a test. Your bed is warm. The world outside is hard. Your body says, stay. Your excuses line up like soldiers. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve rest. Tomorrow will be easier. And right there, in that moment, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to comfort, to the slow erosion of your will, to the life you'll regret. The other path leads to the training ground, to the place where you forge yourself into something unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius chose that path every single morning. Not because he was superhuman, because he understood a truth that most people never learn. The morning routine isn't about productivity. It's about sovereignty. It's about who owns you, your urges or your principles. Think about it. If you can't command yourself to get out of bed, how will you command yourself when fear whispers retreat, when pain screams quit, when the world pushes back and every fiber of your being wants to fold? The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. But it starts simpler than that. It starts with the alarm clock. It starts with cold water on your face when you want warmth. It starts with doing the hard thing first, before the day has a chance to soften you. This isn't a speech about morning routines. This is a speech about war, the war against your weaker self. And every morning, you choose which side wins. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations as a published book. He wrote it as survival instructions to himself, a manual for staying sane, staying strong, staying human, while the empire crumbled around him. Picture this: a plague ravaging Rome, barbarian tribes hammering at the borders, betrayal in his own court, his beloved wife, possibly unfaithful, his son, a future tyrant, and Marcus, the philosopher king, sleeping in a military camp, writing by candlelight, reminding himself how to face another day. He had every excuse to quit, every reason to indulge. He was the emperor. He could have drowned his misery in wine, luxury, distraction. Instead, he chose discipline. He chose to rise before dawn, to train his mind like a boxer trains his body, to treat each morning as a fresh campaign in the only war that truly matters, the war for self-mastery. Here's what most people don't understand about discipline. It's not about motivation. Motivation is a flickering candle, bright one moment, dead the next. Discipline is the iron frame that holds you upright when motivation fails, and nowhere is that more visible than in your morning routine. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only good, not pleasure, not comfort, not even survival. Virtue, excellence of character, and character isn't built in moments of convenience. It's built in the dark, in the cold, when no one's watching, when the only witness is your own soul. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But before you can control your mind under pressure, you must control it at rest. Before you can stand firm in crisis, you must practice standing firm against the comfort of your mattress." Athletes know this. Navy SEALs know this. Every champion in every field knows this. The morning sets the tone. Win the morning, and you give yourself a fighting chance at the day. Lose the morning, and you're already in retreat. But here's the secret. The morning routine isn't just a tactical advantage. It's a spiritual practice. It's the daily ritual where you remind yourself who you are and who you refuse to become. It's where you hammer out your character on the anvil of small, repeated choices. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He didn't need a perfect life to practice Stoicism. He needed a practice to face an imperfect life. And it started every morning with one decision: to rise. The Stoics had a radical idea. Freedom isn't the absence of obstacles. Freedom is mastery over your response to them. Let that sink in. You don't need an easier life, you need a stronger mind. You don't need fewer problems, you need better principles. The obstacle isn't blocking the way. The obstacle is the way. This is the philosophical foundation beneath every morning routine, every act of self-discipline, every moment you choose discomfort over ease. You're not just building habits, you're building a fortress around your will. Marcus Aurelius faced this reality every morning. The empire wasn't going to fix itself. The plague wasn't going to vanish. The barbarians weren't going to pack up and leave. He couldn't control any of that. But he could control one thing: how he met the day, with weakness or with strength, with complaint or with courage. The Stoics divided the world into two categories: things within your control and things outside it. Outside your control: the weather, other people's opinions, the economy, your genetics, your past. Within your control: your thoughts, your actions, your character, your response. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control what they can't and neglecting what they can. They wake up and immediately scroll through news designed to make them anxious. They marinate in problems they can't solve. They surrender their morning, the most valuable hours, to distraction, to dread, to drift. But the Stoic practitioner does the opposite. The Stoic wakes and says, "What can I control today?" And the answer is always the same: my attention, my effort, my integrity, my response. This is where morning routines become revolutionary. They're not about maximizing productivity. They're about reclaiming sovereignty. Every morning you face the same choice. Will you be a slave to impulse or will you be free? Epictetus, the Stoic slave turned philosopher, said it plainly: "No man is free who is not master of himself." And self-mastery begins at dawn, when you override the urge for comfort and choose the harder path. Think about the metaphor of training. A soldier doesn't train in comfort. An athlete doesn't build strength by avoiding resistance. You train in conditions harder than the battle, so when the battle comes, you're ready. Your morning routine is your training ground. Every cold shower is target practice. Every early wake-up is a repetition. Every moment of discomfort is a weight added to the bar. And here's the part that changes everything. Hardship isn't an interruption to your training. Hardship is the training. The freezing morning isn't the enemy of your routine. It's the routine working, the exhaustion, the resistance, the voice that says you can't. That's not a bug. That's the feature. That's where growth lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't speaking abstractly. He was speaking from the mud, the blood, the freezing mornings where comfort was a fantasy and discipline was the only anchor. The Stoic morning routine isn't about perfection. It's about practice. It's about proving to yourself, one dawn at a time, that you can do hard things. And once you prove it at 5 a.m., you carry that proof into every challenge the day throws at you. Now let's get tactical, because philosophy without action is just daydreaming. The mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs training, stress, recovery, and progressive overload. Here's how Marcus Aurelius trained his, and how you can train yours. Exercise 1. The morning premeditatio. Before you even leave the bed, do what Marcus did. Visualize the day ahead. Not with optimism, with realism. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. You're mentally rehearsing adversity so it doesn't catch you off guard. Spend 2 minutes. Picture the difficult meeting, the traffic, the critic, the failure. Now picture yourself responding with calm, with strength, with principle. You're not hoping for an easy day, you're forging an unbreakable response. Modern example. A Navy SEAL before a mission doesn't hope everything goes smoothly. He rehearses every disaster, equipment failure, injury, ambush, and plans his response. That's why they stay calm under fire. They've already fought the battle in their minds. Exercise 2. The cold start. Do something uncomfortable within the first 10 minutes of waking. Take a cold shower. Do 50 push-ups. Go outside in the cold. The specific action doesn't matter. What matters is overriding comfort. Why? Because you're training your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that controls impulse, to dominate your limbic system, the part that craves comfort. Every time you choose the hard thing, you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you give in, you weaken it. Athletes call this the hard start protocol. Entrepreneurs call it eating the frog. Stoics call it practicing virtue. Same principle. Conquer your resistance early, and you own the day. Exercise. 3. The voluntary discomfort. Once a week, Marcus Aurelius practiced poverty. He'd sleep on the floor, eat simple food, go without luxuries. Why? To prove to himself that comfort wasn't necessary, that he could lose everything and still be free. You don't need to sleep on the floor, but you need to practice discomfort. Skip a meal, walk instead of drive, work in silence instead of music. The goal isn't punishment, it's inoculation. You're teaching yourself that hardship isn't an emergency. It's just Tuesday. Modern warriors understand this. Special forces operators train in conditions worse than combat. Ultramarathon runners train at altitudes and distances beyond race day. They make the training harder than the test. So should you. Exercise 4. The memento mori meditation. You could leave life right now, Marcus wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Every morning, for 60 seconds, remind yourself, you will die, not someday, eventually, maybe today, maybe this year. This isn't morbid, it's liberating. When you internalize your mortality, the trivial falls away. The grudge you're holding, irrelevant. The fear of judgment, meaningless. The perfect moment you're waiting for, an illusion. Death isn't waiting for you to be ready. So why should your discipline get out of bed, do the work, train your mind, not later, now? Exercise 5. The evening review. Marcus ended each day by reviewing his actions. Where did I compromise? Where did I stand firm? Where did I let impulse win? This isn't self-punishment, it's reconnaissance. You're studying your patterns so you can improve your response. Modern CEOs call this a debrief. Psychologists call it metacognition. Stoics call it philosophy in action. Same idea. You can't master what you don't measure. Your morning routine isn't a ritual. It's a laboratory. You're testing your limits, refining your responses, building resilience one repetition at a time. Every morning is another chance to lift heavier weight, and the weight is your own resistance. Theory means nothing without proof. So let's look at the evidence, ancient and modern, that this works. Marcus Aurelius ruled during Rome's darkest era. Plague, invasion, economic collapse. He had every excuse to crumble. Instead, he became one of history's greatest leaders. Not because his circumstances were easy, because his discipline was ironclad. He won the morning, every morning, for decades, and that daily practice compounded into a legacy that outlasted the empire itself. Or take Admiral James Stockdale, shot down over Vietnam, tortured for 7 years in the Hanoi Hilton. What kept him sane? Stoic philosophy, specifically Epictetus. Stockdale said the optimists died first. They hoped for rescue by Christmas, then Easter, then Thanksgiving, and hope without discipline broke them. Stockdale survived because every morning in his cell, he practiced control, not over his captors, over his mind. Or look at Kobe Bryant, who famously trained at 4 a.m. while his competitors slept. When asked why, he didn't talk about talent. He talked about discipline, about winning the morning, about doing what others wouldn't. That morning routine wasn't the secret to his success. It was his success. Or consider Jocko, Willink, Navy SEAL commander, who posts a picture of his watch every morning at 4:30 a.m. Not to brag, to remind himself and others that discipline equals freedom, that the chains of routine unlock the prison of weakness. Or think about every entrepreneur who's built something from nothing. They'll tell you the same story. The breakthrough didn't come from inspiration. It came from showing up, from grinding through the doubt, the failure, the exhaustion, from refusing to let the morning slip away. The pattern is universal. Champions in every field, athletes, warriors, builders, thinkers, all practice the same discipline. They master the morning. They embrace discomfort. They train their minds like weapons. They understand that the obstacle isn't an inconvenience, it's the forge. And the opposite is equally true. Every broken promise to yourself, every snooze button, every morning surrendered to comfort. That's not rest, that's retreat. That's you telling yourself you're not capable, and after enough repetitions, you start to believe it. The evidence is overwhelming. The morning routine isn't a productivity hack. It's the proving ground where you discover who you are and who you're becoming. So here's the question. What will you do tomorrow morning? Will you hit snooze and surrender another day to drift? Or will you rise like Marcus Aurelius, like every warrior who's ever chosen the hard path, and prove to yourself that you're capable of more? This is your training ground. The alarm clock is the starting gun. The cold air is the resistance. The voice that says you can't is the sparring partner. And you are the only one who decides if you win or lose. There are no shortcuts, no hacks, no easy way. There's only the way, the obstacle itself, and your decision to meet it with strength or with surrender. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, plagues, betrayals, and still chose discipline. What's your excuse? Tomorrow morning you'll stand at that crossroads again. Comfort or courage, impulse or integrity, weakness or will. Choose like an emperor, train like a warrior, rise like a Stoic. The morning is waiting, and so is the person you could become. Now get after it.